What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be another DN ranked match, and this time it is going to be me playing Kozmo versus Deskbots. Now this is actually the first evening that I've even decided to play Kozmo because I've had a very negative stance towards the deck in the past in terms of how it's played, and it is still a very simple deck at its core, but I just like the evolution that the deck has gone through in the new Sword Trooper approach, and this is Based Lolly, Alexander Lithgate's third place finishing deck list from Vegas. That is the list that I'm using. I'm testing it just to see how it works ratio-wise and how it works playstyle-wise. But that is neither here nor there. But anyway, I have a really weak opening hand, and I summon Sword Trooper, and I set Call the Haunted and Cosmojo. My hand is very, very not ideal. If that Sword Trooper or the Forerunner had been Tin Can, then my hand would be absolutely insane. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But he summons Deskbot 3 for his first play and gets Deskbot 5 out of his deck and uses Deskbot 5 to destroy one of my back rows. And luckily he hits the Call of the Haunted, and if he hadn't hit that Call of the Haunted, I don't think I would have even been able to remotely stay in the game. I probably would have just died this turn. And so he sets up a 7 and an 8 in his scale, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Those are like the two best ones he could have set there because of the fact that I have Cosmojo down. But after he sets his scales, I go, respond to you placing 7 in the scale, and I summon Forerunner, and then in response to the Forerunner summon in the summon response window, I flip Cosmojo, destroying Forerunner and then banishing one of his scales. Now, I instinctively thought that I banished 7, but I actually ended up banishing 8 instead, which is the actual exact opposite order of what I wanted to do. I wanted to pop the 8 and banish the 7, but I just absolutely clicked the wrong one. I clicked in the wrong order because I was resolving my effects really quickly in my head and stuff. But anyway, Forerunner gets banished and summons Slip Rider out of my deck, and then Slip Rider pops the 7. And the reason I wanted to do it in the opposite order was because if I left 7 in his extra deck, he could Pendulum summon that possibly later, and then if he had Deskbot 1, that means that's an easy level A Synchro, that's an easy Ignister to possibly out my ships, things like that. And I'm just like immediately kind of resigning myself to kind of defeat because I have 2 cards to his 5, and it's just not looking too great for me. But the potential for me to stay in the game came off of that Cosmojo because I wanted to break his scale, because I absolutely 100% did not want to let him Pendulum Summon, because if he did Pendulum Summon, then that would allow, Deskbot 3 to become huge and all that nonsense. But as it stands right now, he's currently already dedicated his normal summon in, so I felt okay with clearing his Pendulum scale, because then the Slip Rider stays in attack mode, and his Deskbot 3 can only be 1,000 or 1,500 at that point. Like if he's able to put another card on board or whatever, those factors are, outstanding. But he ends up bouncing 3 to his hand for Gen XI Birdman, and then synchroing into Red Dragon, Archfiend Scarlight, and destroying my Slip Rider, burning me for 5, and I summon Wicked Witch out of my deck off of its effect, and then use Wicked Witch to pay 1,000 to keep itself from dying. And so I pay 1,000 again with Wicked Witch, and then I activate Dark Hole to get the Scarlight off the field, and I top decked a Tin Can, and that was honestly very, very important for me because I had to have that Tin Can, and I also had to get lucky in order to stay into the game. I had to. There was no way that I would be able to win this game without getting lucky at this point, because I'm just down so many cards. Like now we're at 3-2, and we're about to be 3-3, but he's drawing to 4 as well, and he has a 3 in his hand that I know about, and it's all just a very bad situation for me. But I used Tin Can's effect, and I just kind of checked the chat real quick just to see if we've ever had this come up yet on what my orders would be. But I reveal Destroyer, Eclipser, and Slip Rider, and set my orders. Destroyer 1-2, Eclipser is 3-4, and he gives me the worst one. He gives me the Eclipser, and I'm just like, ew, that's not good. But at least at this point, I can't really die because of Wicked Witch. Wicked Witch staying on the board at this point is definitely very heavily protecting my life points, because of the fact that it'll be, it'll obviously be able to be attacked over, yes, but unless he outs it, there's no way that I'm going to outright lose due to a barrage of Deskbot 2s or anything like that happening. But he ends up summoning Deskbot 3 and using its effect again, and I think, if I remember correctly, he gets a 4 out of the deck. Yes, he does. So he goes for 4, because 4 is actually really good here, because it allows him to start establishing more cards on board, make it harder for me to deal with him. Every time this 4 hits is going to be effectively a +2 for him, and that's actually something that I can't really keep up with. So I think about it for a second. I think about what I'm going to be trying to do here, and I banish my Tin Can to summon the Dark Eclipser. It doesn't matter if it's in attack or defense mode, because Deskbot 4 prevents me from taking battle damage during the end of the turn that it uses it, or until the end of the turn after it uses its effect. But he uses Deskbot 3's effect on Deskbot 4, and boosting it to 15, and then he gets to use Deskbot 4's effect to send from deck to grave. And he honestly probably could have just gotten away with not using 3 on the Deskbot 4. He could have definitely saved it, but I don't quite know why he did it here, basically, because really, he could have, I think he sends a huge one from his deck to grave. If I remember correctly, he sends like 7 or 8, and then that gets special summoned. Yeah, he sends 8. So Deskbot 5 is already inherently getting boosted by 4k, and I don't take any damage from any of it. And he gets to summon 2 off of 4, and if he had left 3's boost effect, he could have then used 3 to just do some extra damage over my Wicked Witch. But regardless, it just didn't end up happening. But, so, he attacks over my Dark Eclipse there, and I use Dark Eclipse's effect to search Dark Destroyer because I need to start getting more cards. Basically, Dark Destroyer was going to be needed to out Deskbot 4, but he put the Deskbot 8 on the field. And Deskbot 8's effect says you can't target any other Deskbots on the field with card effects except Deskbot 8, so that turns Deskbot 4 and Deskbot 3 into being immune to Dark Destroyer. But I get a really good draw in the form of Kozmo Town, and I'm like, yes, that's a card that I definitely needed, it's a card I definitely wanted, 100%. So I use Wicked Witch's effect and special summon Dark Destroyer out of my hand, and I use Destroyer's effect, and I think for a minute it's either going to be me popping his Deskbot 8, or I'm going to be popping myself. And so I check my banish pile for a little bit, check my grave to see if there's any Sword Trooper possible shenanigans to happen there. Ultimately, I come to the conclusion that it's the best option to pop the Dark Destroyer itself and use its effect to banish itself and get Strawman, because Strawman will then establish me with 2 different ladders, and I will possibly be able to stay in the game a bit longer. But, carrying on. So, I activate the Kozmo Town, and the Kozmo Town adds back the Dark Destroyer that I just banished. This way I can then use Strawman and get back anything, and then that establishes me with 2 Kozmo ladders. It establishes me 2 different ways to keep monsters on the board and keep monster presence, and then that also means I'm guaranteed a tin can at the end phase, because Forerunner will die and it will use its effect and get tin can, and then I can get a tin can search and try to keep getting lucky, because gotta get lucky to win this one. So I banish Strawman and special summon the Dark Destroyer out of my hands, and I target his Deskbot 8 because that's the only card I can target, and he chains Deskbot 3's effect on itself to boost it. So it got boosted by 4, and I'm like, how much is that? Is it 3k? He's like, no, it's 25. He's like, oh, perfect, amazing, great. So I can still hit over it with Dark Destroyer. I was just in the mindset of I might have to attack into this and suicide with it, but no, I get to keep the Destroyer, which is very good for me. So I use Forerunner to attack over his Deskbot 5 because I don't want to give him a free Deskbot 4 effect. Definitely not, 100% no. But then I use Dark Destroyer to attack over 3 because it's just small enough. And then I go to main phase 2, go to end phase. The Strawman, a lingering effect, triggers and destroys my Forerunner, and I use Forerunner's effect banishing itself to get Tin Can out of my deck. And then trigger Tin Can, pay 500, and reveal 3 cards. And at this point, I 100% have to get lucky. There's no way I win this game if he does not give me Dark Destroyer. He has to give me Dark Destroyer for me to win. There's no way that I win because he's going to start amassing advantage out of Deskbot 4, also being able to get Deskbot 2 and stuff. So I reveal, and I declare 1/2's Destroyer, 3/4 Trooper, 5/6 Slip Rider, and he rolls 1/2. And I'm like, yes! We got there! We got there! Basically. Because now I'm in a position where I can out his Deskbot 4, and like everything is okay with the world, because I'm going to be able to out the 4, he's not going to be able to amass any more damage. The only way he could really win this game now is by having another Deskbot 3 and going to Deskbot 4, but he's already established he does not have any more monsters other than Deskbot 5 in his hand from the previous turn, because that was the only card he could summon. So I end up winning this game. I end up pulling it completely out of my ass. There is, in my opinion, no reason why I should have won this game. So we start going into siding for game 2, and I'm not 100% positive on what it is that I'm wanting to put in. I hover over the system downs, I hover over the ghost ogres, I do all that sort of stuff, just trying to figure out ultimately what I do and do not wish to have and put in, because, I mean, I'm not really 100% positive on what is good to side against Deskbots. I'm pretty sure system down is amazing, because that deals with the problem of me dealing with Deskbot 4 and stuff like that. And I kind of want to put in Ghost Ogre just so I can like hit Deskbot 3s and keep them from amassing, and I ultimately come to the conclusion that I can side out a Farm Girl and another card that doesn't really matter, because Farm Girl is not going to have a lot of applications in this matchup because of all the things he's leaving out are able to boost themselves over the Farm Girl. So I sided out a Farm Girl for a Ghost Ogre just to try and keep things slick and smooth. But he sets 1, summons Deskbot 4 after upstarting, and passes his turn. And I essentially decide that it's worth, since I have double Tin Can, to Twin Twister his 1 card, and it was a Solemn Strike, so it was kind of worth. And I summon Tin Can, I'm like, I don't want to see a Veiler here. And so he discards a Veiler, and I'm just like, I even type it in chat. So I have Kozmojo and Solemn Strike down. So ultimately, I'm not too pleased with my situation, but at least I can try and do something, possibly, by like maybe protecting Tin Can if he like gets greedy and activates like 4's effect or something. But ultimately, that's not the case of what happens, because he ends up activating Machine Dupe targeting 4, so I have to immediately Kozmojo the 4. So that Machine Dupe doesn't resolve. 100% cannot let that go. But now we're both in a position where we're top decking, because he doesn't have another monster either, and I just happen to top deck Call of the Haunted, and that's perfect. That's great. 100% exactly what the doctor ordered, because it's actually just really good, because I go Call of the Haunted on his in phase into Tin Can, and Tin Can's effect can activate during either player's in phase. So I get to immediately get a search and then start my turn with a potential, card off Tin Can. So I pay 500 for the Tin Can, and I reveal a Sword Trooper, because Sword Trooper there's another Tin Can in the grave that can be a target for Sword Trooper if he gives it to me. And then I just reveal 2 of my big ships. I think it was Forerunner and Dart Destroyer. I can't remember exactly, and the screen is obscured currently, so I cannot look. Yes, it was Dart Destroyer and Forerunner. So he rolls 1-2 after I assigned 1-2 to Sword Trooper, so I'm like, okay, cool. So I don't have any big ships, but I definitely get to just keep amassing advantage, because Tin Can's search effect in the end phase is not once per turn for all Tin Cans. The tag out effect is definitely once per turn, but I can just start amassing more and more cards than him and basically just win the game outright from there. So I Sword Trooper into a Tin Can, turn the Tin Can off, Call the Haunted to defense mode, attack him with Sword Trooper for a clean 1,000, and I have a Solemn Strike that I just top deck as well to go with my second Solemn Strike, and then I have Twin Twister down as well. And so during the end phase, both of my Tin Cans get to resolve, and off both of my Tin Cans, I reveal Dart Destroyer, Sword Trooper, and Slip Rider, and I give them the order of 1-2 Dart Destroyer, 3-4 Stormtrooper, and 5-6 Slip Rider. So he rolls 1-2 off the first one, gives me a Dart Destroyer, and so I pay 500 again for Tin Can and send the exact same cards to the grave. I just kind of think about it for a while on what I wanted to send. I accidentally banished the Dart Destroyer there, so I go and I correct it, putting it in the grave, so it doesn't disrupt the number of or the order of how I revealed them and stuff like that, because I just wanted the numbering system to stay the same. So I send the exact same cards in the exact same order, and I tell him same order, and he rolls again, and he rolls another 1 and gives me another Dart Destroyer. And so I have double Dart Destroyer with double Tin Can and a Sword Trooper on the board that's all live. Like, all of these things are live, and then he plays System down and pays 1,000. I kind of panic for a second, but then I realize, wait, my entire field is Psychic monsters. So all that happens is the 4 big ships in my grave get banished. And he realizes this, and he says, GG, and I just kind of flip over my cards just to show the people that are watching, but he left too soon for me to show him those, and ultimately that's just ends up being the game. He basically we both bricked game 2, and I got out of it before he did because of a very choice, very premium Call of the Haunted top deck. But anyway, that is all for this video. As always, guys, let me know what you guys think about these games, what you thought about this match, what you think about these 2 decks, all that kind of stuff. This is, like I said, the first video I've ever played with Kozmo's in, and I definitely enjoy the direction the deck has gone with the advent of Sword Trooper and stuff like that, although, like I said, it is still very simple at the very, very end of the day. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about Kozmo anyway, because I know I have some people that really like and really hate Kozmo that watch my videos. But anyway, as always, like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Check out the links in the description of my Facebook pages, my Twitch channel, my Twitch donations link, all that nonsense. If you want to mess with any of those, go for it. That's what they're there for. But other than that, as always, guys, take care.